For convenience, Skye and Lochalsh Environment Forum is known as SLEF. SLEF came into existence in 2003, a new local wildlife group gathering a wide spectrum of interests and concerns. In 2007, the Highland Council appointed 7 Highland groups like SLEF to take on the task of producing biodiversity action plans, 1 for the entire region and 7 local plans, usually referred to as LBAPs. All projects were completed around 2010 and the plans collated and published by the Council. Projects were diverse, for instance rhododendron clearance by the eco-friendly lever and mulch method and this community outreach project at Balmacara. In 2012, the South Skye sea lochs were first targeted by aggressive salmon aquaculture companies who surprised the Slate community with 4 separate planning applications. Opposition by the combined local community and SLEF members succeeded in keeping them out 4 times. On the 1st of February 2014, the Scottish Salmon Think Tank, SSTT, was formed within SLEF by those involved in salmon farming opposition to continue that specific purpose. The biodiversity action plans were published in 2014. Then the Highland Council scrapped the 7 biodiversity groups, but SLEF and others continued, from now on independent and enthusiastic, but unfunded. Here is a rapid sequence showing the history of SLEF's public activities from 2003 until COVID, followed by our hopes for the future. So in 2014, SLEF lost its support and funding, but not its purpose. We carried on as usual. As with many activities, when COVID struck, SLEF unravelled. Field activities were prevented and it has proved very difficult to get going again. As never considered before, public liability insurance became a serious issue. With virtually no funds, SLEF was unable to pay an annual fee of about £1,000. Seashore work was the problem, considered to be a marine activity and therefore extra dangerous. We had therefore to separate the Skye Seas Surveys initiative from SLEF in order to afford just the necessary insurance for other field trips and cancel seashore visits. Still, SLEF has begun its post-COVID recovery. A marine teaching project with a small primary school was resumed. Field trips have been timetabled and publicised, but sadly attendance has been worse than poor. We have taken advantage of opportunities to interact with the public. After lockdown, new projects began to come our way. A research team from the universities of Loughborough and Kiel chose the Isle of Skye as their field site for a study of shoreline litter, working with SLEF and other local wildlife groups. And we've enthusiastically adopted a citizen science project at the Plock of Kyle, led and funded by the James Hutton Institute. We used to hold lively, interesting conversations like this, sometimes indoors, sometimes in the field. We hope to revitalise this custom by forming new collaborations with other active local natural history groups. That promises an exciting future for SLEF. There's far too much to fit into our allocated time here, so we will introduce the project and invite everybody to visit our 2 YouTube channels, where they're explained in more detail in our informative and entertaining videos. The main SLEF channel already has a diverse programme of videos on many aspects of natural history. Notably, we will be adding Roger's numerous trail cam recordings of badger, otter, weasel, pine martens and deer. The Scottish Salmon Think Tank channel deals exclusively and in great detail with the salmon farming issue. There you will find all the information you need to convince yourself, if you need it, and others why we are opposed, plus 5 training videos to assist members of the public to play their part in the Highland Council's planning process. In 2009, when the Japanese knotweed problem was rising in public awareness but far from being solved, SLEF obtained funding for a small local research project. Of course, cutting knotweed, which scatters fragments far and wide, all of which can generate new knotweed colonies, is worse than useless, and herbicides cause collateral ecological harm while eradication is often incomplete, particularly when the roads team's instructions are to spray 2 metres from the roadside and no more. Here on Great Cumbria and the Clyde, Japanese knotweed has been spread all along the perimeter roadside by verge mowing, right the way round the island. In places it is simply enormous, as here at Bell Bay, where it completely obscures the famous view down the Clyde. Only this year did we become aware of a completely new way of getting rid of knotweed. Here's a brief introduction by the people who promote it, which you might wish to investigate further. SLEF has been involved in several projects dealing with invasive weeds, Japanese knotweed, giant hogweed, Himalayan balsam, skunk cabbage and, of course, the ubiquitous rhododendron. Thanks to Gordon French and Donald Kennedy, we were soon convinced by their eco-friendly, simple technology, low cost and very effective lever and mulch method for eradicating rhododendrons. There won't be time now to describe the method in detail. Briefly, bushes are carefully dismantled, levering each stem off its root base, hammering the bud zone on that root base to oblivion and piling all the waste where the roddy was growing, to inhibit any buds that were missed and seedling growth, hence lever and mulch. Donald Kennedy demonstrates all requirements, a high-quality silky Zubat saw and a cheap pruning saw for roots, a hammer, protective clothing and some human strength. We present an extensive YouTube video on the SLEF channel, and there are leaflets available to pick up on our SLEF table. In 2010, SLEF began creating wildlife posters which we display, as on our table at this meeting, and make available to the public. Anyone can download and print whichever of them they want. Several groups have requested versions modified to feature local wildlife, such as here in Glenmoriston. Mink. American mink has become a significant pest in the West Highlands. Trapping and dispatching needs to be done, but first we need to know if there truly is a local mink problem. Volunteers from around the region were found and training sessions timetabled. The SLEF Mink project began with the placement of specially designed monitoring rafts in predicted strategic locations, mainly in watercourses. The raft's superstructure is a passage with bars to exclude large animals. The raft floor is a smooth layer of damp clay which will record the footprints of animals that pass through. The rafts are deployed and inspected daily for footprints. Here's a typical footprint set which includes mink, some difficult to detect, as well as small animals and birds. Well-defined mink footprints. The expected mink trapping programme to protect, among others, a waning watervole population was not funded, the authorities considering that wading birds elsewhere was the priority. When we set up a trail cam and leave it watching by day or by night, the resulting video footage can be remarkable, indeed inspirational. We receive valuable insights into animal behaviour which, as well as its biological and entertainment value, may also have social and commercial importance, providing evidence to inform and resolve a controversy. For instance, scenes similar to this brief clip have been recorded on numerous occasions. Research has competently provided contradictory evidence. Nature Scott Report 1345. We did not find any direct evidence that badger predation does occur. The findings strongly suggest that even in situations where badgers are suspected of land predation, foxes are the primary culprit. Roger Cottis, the current chairman of SLEF, has had trail cameras out for years, recording mammal behaviour in extraordinary detail and intimacy. These are being made into YouTube videos, but here is a sequence of entertaining tasters to encourage you to visit our channel and see more, and maybe get filming wildlife yourself with a trail cam. The Skye badger. The presence of badgers in the British countryside is recorded in hundreds of place names. Think Brockhampton, Brocklehurst and so on. Although badgers have been absent from Skye for many years, we know they were once present from the many unoccupied fossil badger sets, and also by hints in Gaelic names of places and hills such as Brockven by Drynach, literally Mount Badger. During a pre-development survey at the southeastern end of the island for the Skye Pylons project, a trail camera discovered a young badger foraging. It's a remote, inaccessible part of Skye and rarely visited by people, so this badger presents us with many questions. How many badgers are there? Is this a new arrival in a badgerless landscape? If newly arrived, how did it or they get to Skye? Swimming or on foot across the bridge? That's how pine martens got here. SLEF has been enthusiastically adopted by environmental geneticists at the universities of Leeds and Sheffield, creating a joint project to discover the relationships of the Skye badger and its mainland relatives. Is it a remnant of the old Skye population or a new arrival? Environmental DNA will be extracted from the roots of field-collected badger hair samples and used to create a unique genetic fingerprint. Where a badger's foraging route takes it under fences, it often leaves tufts of hair on barbed wire, which ecologists may collect for DNA extraction. We can predict that the results will be fascinating. Loch Snappin and Loch Eshort, Isle of Skye, were targeted 4 times by aggressive salmon farming companies proposing to site net cage fish farms in our scenic and biodiverse sea lochs. The slate community played a significant role in exposing the industry's pollution potential, bad biology and outright lies, and all 4 planning applications were refused. Having come together and accumulated a decent knowledge base, we now had a well-informed lobbying machine which was not going to become complacent. One faction remained to campaign for aquaculture reform, while the other would transfer its attention to gathering an extensive biodiversity dataset to inform future conservation projects. In 2024, the South Skye Seas Initiative, SSSI, became independent of SLEF and changed its title to the Skye Seas Surveys Initiative, thus remaining SSSI, which of course also stands for Site of Special Scientific Interest. Back in 2014, SSSI was invited to become a founding member of the Coastal Communities Network Scotland, led at the time by Fauna and Flora International. We came out with a video flourish at the exciting first gathering at Gartmore House, near Aberfoyle. The project began with seashore visits as we'd organised previously, but now given a more formal approach to species recording. If we were to choose just one indicator of our loch's extraordinary biodiversity, it has to be the crabs found on the Lochalsh shore, 11 species. Here are the sites of all those seashore surveys and the data collated in a detailed spreadsheet. We were very fortunate that SNH took an interest in the biodiversity of our lochs. They carried out 2 surveys, the first with a drop-down camera, and then 2 years later, aboard the SEPA research vessel, using improved photographic technology and grab sampling of the seabed. Their results were terrific. More solid data, this time offshore. Now should SSSI need to present data, SSSI had it. But there was a lot more to do. In these lochs, seagrass or eelgrass, Zostera marina, is just one of many priority species and habitats known to Nature Scott as Priority Marine Features, PMFs. So we welcomed visits by Project Seagrass, who added a lot to our knowledge, both data and special ecology we needed to know about. Seagrass meadows are often beyond detection, underwater and sometimes offshore, so signs are important. This picture shows what people should look for and report, because SSSI can check it out decisively. The frond found at X and recorded at the time later led to the discovery of a new remote seagrass meadow by the Skye Lochalsh. And this is how. Our blue ROV is deployed from the research boat Orion. Here's a clip from one of the first SSSI ROV videos, when they found previously unrecorded seagrass. Why are seagrass meadows prioritised? Seagrass is in decline with little sign of recovery. It is under constant threat from pollution, for instance phosphates and nitrogen compounds in salmon farm waste, and it is the nursery for commercial seafoods. Before the ROV, seagrass records were only at accessible inshore sites in Lochalsh. Since SSSI invested in the blue ROV, 14 further sites have been located and mapped, and there will be more. With many other PMFs to be discovered, recorded and mapped, the SSSI ROV team will be occupied for quite a while, and there are additional pleasures to be had.
Magnificent. Oh, well done, sweetheart. Oh, you are wonderful. You are just wonderful.
So, in 2026, SLEF continues operations, administering funds for SSSI and SSTT, plus new and continuing projects and ambitious plans for restructuring.